What are some of the most despicable crimes that people will do? Will honey trappers such as these people ever stop robbing guys? The answer is no. How about this guy who decided to go after a girl he met off of a sugar daddy site he was on? Then there's the rap star's son who decided to, instead of getting into the music business, he apparently decided to get into the getting rid of people business. And then what's a worse scenario than walking into your house and finding squatters when they immediately come after you because you unexpectedly walked in on them? Let's get right to it. Number 6, laying traps. Sydnee Whitaker was charged and put in prison in connection with a robbery at a North Dallas apartment complex. Whitaker, along with 2 men, Jaroy Rogers and Tyrone Williams, were stuck with some serious charges for their roles in the incident. According to police, the situation began when Whitaker arranged to meet then 21-year-old Adrian Wells under the guise of a personal, intimate encounter. On the day of the robbery, Whitaker contacted Wells, expressing interest in meeting up at his apartment. So, Wells agreed, expecting to meet only her. However, when he went to let her in, 3 armed men forced their way inside instead. The thing is, Wells wasn't alone in the 3-story apartment, as his friends were upstairs watching TV. One of the robbers demanded cash from the group before firearms started going off. Tragically, Wells didn't survive the encounter, and another man was critically injured. It was later revealed that Whitaker had only met Wells the day before. Suspicion grew when one of Wells's friends told police that he found it strange Whitaker wanted to meet again so soon and that she was ready for some intimate time. He thinks she might have set Wells up. Witnesses also reported seeing a woman with a tattoo on her face, later identified as Whitaker, running from the scene. When a bystander asked her if everything was okay, she said no, but kept moving, which isn't typically what someone does if they need help or aren't okay, you know? Though Whitaker initially agreed to talk to the police, she never showed up for the interview. Family members later told investigators that she admitted to being involved, but claimed she only drove the 3 men to Wells' apartment to buy some devil's lettuce and stayed in the car. Whitaker was arrested and given a 10-year sentence for her role. The only reason we found out about her sentencing was because of her profile on writeaprisoner.com. There's no public information either on the sentencing for Rogers and Williams, but if we had to guess, they're probably in prison as well. When something feels wrong, or when someone moves too quickly, it's a red flag. It's always a good idea to trust your instincts, slow things down, and be cautious when meeting new people, no matter how safe the setting seems. Number 5, good to bad intentions. Sugar daddy Bobby Shaw was charged with an incident involving Muna Pandey, a 21-year-old nursing student from Houston Community College. Muna, originally from Nepal, was found in her apartment after being reported missing. Shaw's connection to the case was made after someone recognized him from a sugar daddy website following the release of security footage by authorities. Security footage from Muna's apartment captured Shaw approaching her door with a weapon, leading to the tragic incident. Shortly after, a woman contacted Houston police, identifying Shaw from his online profile. Further details revealed that Shaw had frequently visited the restaurant where Muna worked, often leaving large tips for the waitresses he favored. Shaw was arrested a few days later, wearing the same stained clothes seen in the footage. Authorities believe he forced his way into Muna's apartment using threats, then left an hour later with her belongings, including a purse. Before Muna's passing, she had mentioned concerns about a relationship she was in, but it's unclear whether Shaw was involved in that. However, her concerns about the relationship were severe enough that she installed the home security cameras that led to Shaw's eventual capture. Muna's friends and family described her as loving and confident, someone who worked hard to build a future in the United States. Muna's mother, who still lives in Nepal, was told by a family friend, and a GoFundMe was set up to help cover her travel and funeral expenses. As of the release of this video, Shaw's next court appearance is scheduled, and prosecutors are requesting that he remains in custody without bail. It's scary to think that someone like Shaw, a seemingly successful professional, he was the VP of some unnamed company, could become involved in such a crazy and tragic event. His habit of leaving large tips and frequently visiting Muna's workplace, combined with his profile on a sugar daddy site, all painted a troubling picture. Muna's own concerns about a relationship severe enough to install security cameras now seem like early warnings. Number 4. A Florida lawyer with a gambling problem. Jason Penrod, a 47-year-old attorney from Florida, found himself in deep trouble after being accused of taking nearly $2 million from a trust fund set up for a brother and sister. This trust had been established by their father before his passing. Penrod's actions didn't go unnoticed, and eventually complaints surfaced, sparking an investigation. But what made this story so outrageous wasn't just the amount of stolen money, it was how he handled the situation. In a totally absurd move, Penrod actually flew out to Pennsylvania to meet with the siblings face-to-face. During this meeting, he admitted to taking the money. In fact, he actually confessed to draining the entire $1.7 million from the trust. So, to make it right, he promised to pay it all back, explaining that the situation was more like a short-term loan, despite having gambled the funds away at the seminal Hard Rock Casino in Tampa. It's like Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber, rolling up with a briefcase full of IOUs. But at least Christmas was more sincere and actually had something on paper. Penrod even tried to excuse his behavior as the result of repressed memories and stress, claiming that his gambling addiction was to blame. After the confession, he checked himself into a treatment facility, but the damage had already been done. The investigation revealed that Penrod's misconduct extended beyond just these 2 victims. In total, 4 victims were affected, and the amount he had stolen reached around $4 million. Among the victims was a 93-year-old woman who had lost money that her deceased son had left for her care. Despite his claims of mental health struggles, which he obviously has, Penrod's actions led him to lose his law license, and he now faces up to 30 years in prison for grand theft. Authorities are continuing their investigation to determine just how many other people might have been affected by his actions. It's ridiculous that this dude actually flew all the way out to Pennsylvania from Florida to look these 2 people in the eye after he gambled away a couple $1 million of their money and just promised to pay them back. Number 3, a real-life monster. Unless you've been off the internet for the past few months, we're sure you know what's been going on with Sean Diddy Combs. You don't need us to tell you that as of the release of this video, he's currently facing serious accusations engaging in illegal activities related to, let's just call it, adult favors. Among the people who work closely with him is Christina Coram, who has been described as his right hand. However, some now allege she may have played a more sinister role behind the scenes. While Diddy remains in custody after a judge denied his $50 million bail request, Coram hasn't been charged or arrested. Yet rumors are swirling that she had a hand in managing many aspects of Diddy's alleged illicit activities. In fact, a lawsuit brought against Diddy claims that Coram was directly involved in arranging illegal activities, with one source even comparing her role to that of Ghislaine Maxwell, who famously aided Epstein. The legal documents describe how Diddy's employees were allegedly tasked with arranging wild parties, complete with adult workers and hotel rooms prepared with disturbing details, such as the usual party favors, along with baby oil. A lot of it. Coram's name repeatedly comes up in the accusations, though she hasn't commented on the situation. Whether or not Coram was deeply involved remains to be seen. But if any of this is true, it's despicable that anyone could willingly participate in such actions. Helping someone carry out these kinds of requests for the sake of wealth or power is beyond reprehensible. Time will tell how much Coram knew and whether she'll be held accountable for her part in the situation. Number 2, contract work. Jason Scott, the 23-year-old son of rapper Remy Ma, known for her hit song Lean Back with Fat Joe, as well as being on Love and Hip Hop New York, was indicted in connection with an incident in Queens. Scott, along with 22-year-old Richard Swigert, got hit with some serious charges after being accused of involvement in a 2021 crime that left 47-year-old Darius Guilbao 6 feet deep. Surveillance footage and court records suggest that Jason Scott approached Darius Guilbao in a highly targeted manner. Instead of a chaotic incident, as if there were some sort of argument or something, it appears the actions were deliberate, with Scott reportedly discharging his firearm several times. Swigert is also said to have discharged at least 2 rounds before both left the scene. Scott and Swigert have both been held without bail, and prosecutors are building a case that could lead to Scott facing life in prison if convicted. The thing is, this isn't the first time the two have been in trouble with the law. Surprise, surprise. Swigert was linked to 3 other shootings in an 8-month period. Notably, at the time of this arrest, Swigert was already in custody for his involvement in a separate case where a man lost his life outside the Umbrella Hotel in Queens. Scott, on the other hand, was previously charged in a separate case where police found a loaded firearm that he wasn't supposed to have. Scott's mom, Remy Ma, insists her son is innocent because, of course she does. In a statement released through her attorney, she expressed her dedication to supporting him and proving his innocence. How she plans to do that remains to be seen. And of course, like most moms in these situations, she stands by her claim that her son is a good person at heart. The connection between Jason and his friend Richard Swigert paints a troubling picture. With Swigert's record showing his involvement in multiple incidents in just 8 months, it's hard to overlook the company Scott kept. Swigert's ties to several confrontations, including another firearm incident at a karaoke bar in Queens where someone else lost their life, only makes the duo look even more guilty. Both Jason Scott and Richard Swigert were charged for their crime, which authorities suspect may have been a contracted act. Scott's cell phone data and video surveillance played a significant role in linking him to the crime scene. So, despite what his mom says, things aren't looking good. If convicted, Scott faces life in prison without parole, while Swigert could face up to 25 years. The ultimate motive behind the incident is still unclear, though Guilbao had a criminal history involving illegal substances, which probably played a part. As of the release of this video, both Scott and Swigert remain in custody, awaiting further court proceedings. Number 1. Evil intentions. Kensley Alston and Hallie Tayada were charged in connection with the tragic incident involving Nadia Vitels, a 52-year-old woman who had just begun moving into her new Manhattan apartment. The charges against the two include burglary, grand larceny, and more, after Vitels' body was discovered inside a duffel bag in her home. The apartment, known for its luxury and direct elevator access, offered privacy to its residents, but also allowed squatters like Alston and Tayada to enter unnoticed. While Vitels was still moving her stuff in, this was during that in-between time of moving where she was kind of staying at her old place while moving in her new one, Alston and Tayada allegedly gained access to the apartment with a pink suitcase in hand. Over the next 2 days, the two reportedly came and went multiple times. When Vitels returned 2 days later with her dog, she unknowingly walked in on the teens. The "what are you doing in my house" style confrontation led to her tragic passing, with the cause being identified as blunt force trauma. Alston and Tayada went through her stuff and used Vitels' credit card to make purchases, including a suitcase, which they brought back to the apartment. Later that evening, they were seen leaving the building, carrying 2 suitcases and wearing gloves. Concerned family members requested a wellness check on Vitels after she hadn't been heard from for a couple days. Inside her apartment, police found her dog alone and noticed unusual damage to a wall. Upon further inspection, Vitels' body was discovered, hidden in a duffel bag for whatever reason. It's weird to go to all that trouble to stuff someone in a duffel bag and just leave it in the apartment to be found later, right? Anyway, authorities eventually tracked Alston and Tiara to Pennsylvania, where they had fled in Vitel's car. During their time on the run, they allegedly used her stolen credit cards to buy luxury items, including a PlayStation 5, clothes, AirPods, and a diamond ring. Their arrest followed a car crash in Pennsylvania, which gave police the lead they needed to locate and apprehend the suspects. As of the release of this video, they're facing trial for their roles in the incident, and both have professed their innocence during initial court appearances. It's scary to think how easy it was for these two to just break in and live in Vitel's house for a couple of days, right? We've all moved before, and this unlucky squatting situation ultimately cost this poor woman her life. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comment section what you'd rather have to do. Always have to say exactly what you're thinking, or never be able to speak again, but be able to communicate only through gestures.